Chosen one, you just made a long-time opponent feel completely unworthy to even challenge you, and the reason will surprise you. You carried yourself with evidence, not noise. Fruit from patience, discipline, healing, and consistency surrounded you. That fruit spoke instantly. It announced growth without explanation. You did not defeat them. You outgrew the arena they wanted to fight in. And that realization, the fruit I'm talking about, isn't literal produce. This is spiritual fruit. This is results manifested in physical reality. This is the tangible proof that you backed up every word you spoke with action. Ancient wisdom says you will know them by their fruit. That means you have something to show now, something undeniable. For some of you, it's the glow on your face from spending time in divine presence. For others, you talked big for years while people laughed. Then you actually did the impossible thing. You manifested what they said would never happen. You have fruit now, real fruit, and this fruit is creating a problem for your enemies that they never anticipated. Here's the word you need to understand: unworthy. It means not deserving of effort, attention, or respect. Someone who walked around for years feeling entitled to everyone's respect now feels like they don't even deserve your attention. Think about that power shift. Someone who looked down on you now has to look up. Someone who mocked you now sits in silence. The tables didn't just turn, they flipped completely, and they can feel it in their spirit. But here's what's really wild. This is just the surface level of what's happening. There's a deeper dynamic at play that I'm going to reveal to you soon. A dynamic that explains why your fruit is more powerful than you even realize right now. Someone came to check on you recently. Maybe they stalked your social media. Maybe they asked mutual friends about you. They were expecting to have a feast on your failures. They wanted to gather gossip, spread rumors, fill themselves up on your disappointments. They wanted to remind everyone how you talked big but delivered nothing. They had their whole performance planned. Except when they showed up this time, they found fruit instead of failure, evidence instead of excuses, results instead of regret, and it completely disrupted their entire energy. They couldn't execute their plan because the reality didn't match their expectations. Your fruit defended you without you saying a single word. The divine has been giving you specific ideas to produce this fruit. Either it's already manifested or it's coming very soon, and this is why their words don't affect you anymore. Their criticism used to cut deep. Their mockery used to hurt for days, but now it bounces off like rain on glass. Something shifted in the spiritual atmosphere around you. You're protected by an invisible force field made of your own results. And here's the question that's going to separate you from everyone else moving forward. Where is their fruit? When anyone comes to you wanting your time, your energy, your attention, ask them, where is your fruit? What results do you have to show? What evidence backs up your words? Because people without fruit don't get access to you anymore. That's not the energy you're entertaining. That's not the effort you're giving. That's not the respect you're offering. You leveled up and your standards came with you. Your effort has a price now. Your attention costs more than most can afford. And your respect, that's the most expensive thing your longtime opponent will never be able to purchase from you again. You surpassed them while they were talking. You walked while they were running their mouth. Now you're miles ahead, different league, different frequency. The gap is visible, and it's humbling them. But there's something about this gap I need to tell you, something about why it exists and what it means for your future. Keep listening because the revelation is coming, and it's going to shift how you see your entire journey. Someone got redirected in the spirit realm recently. They started heading your way with negativity loaded and ready. But something in the invisible world said as clear as day, turn around and go back unless you want to see all that fruit and feel worse about yourself. And they actually listened. They turned around. Secret tears have been shed over your success. Someone cried in private because they didn't expect you to make it. They cried because your victory highlights their stagnation. They were humbled, truly humbled by what you became. And here's the key that unlocks everything. You didn't say anything. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't argue. You didn't prove your case. You didn't send subliminals. Your fruit did all the speaking. Your fruit redirected them. Your fruit made them feel unworthy. But you stayed silent. You just produced. You just manifested. You just built. You let your work speak. You let your results defend you. Your silence became your most powerful weapon because it was backed by substance. And in this season, you're going to continue letting the fruit talk. You're going to bite into that apple and let the juice fly everywhere. Let the juice speak. Let the results defend you. Let the evidence make your case. You're shining without saying a word. Now here's something powerful about this silence that most people miss. Your opponent was so used to you engaging, so used to you defending yourself, so used to you explaining your position. They built their entire strategy around getting you to react, getting you to respond, getting you to break your peace and enter their chaos. But when you went silent and let the fruit speak instead, you removed the one thing they were counting on, your reaction. They needed you to defend yourself so they could attack the defense. They needed you to explain so they could twist the explanation. They needed you to engage so they could drain your energy. But you gave them nothing except fruit to look at, nothing except results to witness, nothing except evidence to face. This completely disarmed them in ways they never anticipated. Imagine preparing for battle and your opponent doesn't even show up to fight. Instead, they show up with a basket of abundance and just stand there glowing. What do you do with that? How do you fight someone who refuses to fight back but keeps winning anyway? This is the art of war on a spiritual level. You won by not participating in the battle they wanted. You won by changing the entire battlefield from words to works, from talking to producing, from defending to demonstrating, and they had no strategy for that, no plan for that, no answer for that. The universe's message is crystal clear. Moving on. Your opponent was told to turn around and walk the other way unless they want to embarrass themselves comparing their empty basket to your overflow. Some of you have the book idea downloaded, others have the film concept clear. Maybe you don't have the full project done, but you have the foundation solid. Whatever you're producing, that's what's talking for you now. That's what's redirecting opposition. And here's what I'm about to show you. This fruit isn't just defense, it's offense. It's not just protection, it's domination. Stay with me. Your fruit is creating a force field like magnets in reverse. You know how the same poles push away from each other. Your fruit generates that exact resistance, an invisible barrier that keeps people who would normally rush you at a safe distance. One of your longtime opponents finally decided it's time to move on. They can keep talking if it makes them feel better, but all you're doing is producing more fruit. They look at what you have and realize their criticism means nothing compared to your evidence. The proof speaks louder than their opinions. They might say you're missing this, but you have something better. They point out gaps, but the abundance is undeniable. You're not starving, you're feasting, you're thriving visibly, and this reality hurts someone so badly they chose to walk away. They can't handle your success up close. It's too confronting, too real, too painful. But here's what they don't understand yet. Here's the piece they're missing that you're about to learn. Your fruit isn't just about you. It's serving a bigger purpose in the spiritual realm. And when I tell you what that purpose is, everything about your journey is going to make perfect sense. Every struggle, every silent season, every moment of isolation, it's all about to connect. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. Your opponent built their entire identity around being better than you. Think about that for a second. Their whole sense of self-worth was constructed on the foundation of your perceived failure. They needed you to stay down so they could feel up. They needed you to stay broken so they could feel whole. They needed you to stay struggling so they could feel successful. Your lack was their abundance. Your pain was their pleasure. Your setbacks were their highlights. This is sick, but it's real. Some people don't have anything going for themselves, so they build their entire personality around what you don't have going for you. But when you started producing fruit, when you started manifesting results, when you started glowing and growing and showing undeniable evidence of divine favor, you didn't just threaten their narrative about you, you threatened their entire identity. Because if you're not the failure they said you were, then who are they? If you're not struggling like they predicted, then what does that say about their prophetic authority? If you're actually thriving and manifesting and winning, then their whole story about themselves being superior falls apart. You didn't just prove them wrong about you, you proved them wrong about themselves. And that's why the force field is so strong. That's why the repulsion is so intense. They can't be near your success because it exposes their own emptiness. This is deeper than jealousy. This is deeper than envy. This is existential crisis territory. When your fruit showed up, it didn't just make them feel bad. It made them question everything they thought they knew about themselves and about you and about how the world works. You were supposed to be the cautionary tale they pointed to when they wanted to feel better about their own mediocrity. You were supposed to be the example of what happens when people dream too big and fail. You were supposed to validate their decision to play it safe and stay small, but instead you became the evidence that contradicts their entire worldview. Instead, you became proof that taking risks and having faith and doing the work actually produces results. Instead, you became the testimony that destroys their excuse for why they haven't done anything with their own life. You didn't do any of this to hurt them. You didn't manifest your fruit to prove them wrong. You didn't build your success to make them feel unworthy. You did it because the divine gave you a vision, and you were obedient to that vision. You did it because you had a calling, and you answered that calling. You did it because you refused to let other people's limitations become your limitations. Your fruit is a byproduct of your faithfulness. Your success is evidence of your obedience. Your glow is the result of your relationship with the divine. It has nothing to do with them, but it has everything to do with exposing what they're not doing with their own potential. You had to plant seeds in silence. The divine moved you into a field not to talk, but to work. But talked seeds through prayer, through tears, through spiritual discipline, through actual physical hustle. You created things, built things, used your hands to construct your future. The divine moved you to a silent place so you could produce fruit without interference, so you could plant without people destroying your garden. And now the fruit is showing. The harvest is visible. Many of you built in secret, and that was the strategy. The isolation wasn't punishment, it was protection. The silence wasn't abandonment, it was incubation. This is about patience and stacking. You've been stacking fruit on fruit on fruit. One idea manifests. Boom. Next idea manifests. Boom. Another one comes to life. Boom. You developed a supernatural rhythm. Divine download. Action. Results. Repeat. For every fruit you produce, the divine gives you another idea. You complete it and make room for the next download. The more you manifest, the more space you create for new visions. It's a beautiful cycle, and here's what that cycle created that you're about to discover. Here's the secret power your fruit carries that your opponent never saw coming. Behind the scenes where you can't see yet, something wild happened. Someone saw your fruit and it did something they never expected. It inspired them, made them go back to abandoned projects. They saw what you built and remembered their own dead dreams. They've been talking about that project for years, planning that business for a decade, resources sitting unused. And when they saw your results, something clicked. They realized they need to stop talking and start building. You didn't just make them feel unworthy. You accidentally inspired them to work again. They're adventurous in their own mind, but comparing themselves to you, they see their levels behind. They used to look down on you. They remember feeling superior, but now they look up. You jumped multiple levels while they stood still. Your fruit moved you up. Their lack kept them stuck. The contrast is undeniable. Some people fall and never get up. One failure defines them forever. But you fell repeatedly and stood up every single time. You tried and failed over and over. You planted seeds that didn't grow. You prayed and heard no again and again. You cried, you broke down. No, repeatedly, then finally yes. You got back up every time. Each failure taught you about your character, and now someone watching realizes persistence was the missing ingredient. They're retracing their steps, counting their wins. The number is too small. Meanwhile, you built something solid, real stability, actual foundation, friendship, relationship, business, product. Whatever you created, it's genuine. So when they came to criticize, they ran into undeniable success. Their only response was silence. One look at your foundation made them re-evaluate everything. And here's the deeper purpose I promised to reveal. Your fruit doesn't just inspire, it awakens consciousness. It opens brain parts they didn't know existed. Your fruit can trigger spiritual awakening in others. Because seeing your results makes them ask how. They get curious. They start searching, and while searching, they stop talking about you, too busy being amazed. Your success changed their focus from you to themselves, exactly where it should be. At first, when they saw your fruit, pure jealousy hit them. Raw envy flooded their system. They felt that burning sensation in their chest, that sick feeling in their stomach. They wanted what you had, but they didn't want to do what you did to get it. They wanted the harvest without the planting, the fruit without the labor, the glory without the grind. So they tried to minimize it at first, tried to explain it away, tried to attribute your success to luck or timing or connections or anything except the truth, which is that you worked for it and the divine blessed it. But the fruit kept speaking, the evidence kept mounting, the results kept stacking, and eventually their jealousy transformed into something else, curiosity. They started wondering how you did it, started asking themselves questions they'd never asked before. What did you know that they didn't? What did you do that they didn't? What sacrifice did you make that they weren't willing to make? This curiosity led them to research mode. They started paying closer attention, started watching your moves, not to criticize anymore, but to learn, not to tear down, but to understand, not to hate, but to replicate. Your longtime opponent realized they can't afford you anymore, not financially necessarily, but spiritually, energetically. They don't have the currency that grants access to your presence now. That currency is fruit. That currency is results. That currency is evidence of work done and promises kept. They're bankrupt in this new economy. They have nothing to offer you except empty words and broken promises. Meanwhile, you're operating in a completely different economic system. You trade in manifestation. You deal in actualized vision. You exchange in divine downloads turned physical reality, and they don't have anything in their possession that holds value in this economy. When your fruit causes awakening in others, they run seeking answers. Some run to church, some to spiritual communities, trying to figure out your secret. They know they need higher power now. Your success has them confused and searching. They're burdened by their own inadequacy, surrendering to needing divine help. Your fruit got them stuck in a daze, can't stop thinking about it, at work but mentally replaying what they saw in your life, in conversations but processing your success. They're shocked, going through something intense, the painful realization that who they mocked is thriving beyond comprehension. It's heavy for them, weird, eerie silence around their energy, and it's eerie because the fruit is talking, not you. They can't explain what they're experiencing. How do you explain the sound of someone's success when they're not bragging? How do you process evidence when no words are spoken? They need a translator, someone to decode this new language, the language of manifestation. You're fluent, they're not. That gap creates strange silence in their spirit. They can't articulate feelings they've never felt before, but here's what's about to happen next. Here's the climax of this entire story, the moment where everything shifts into a new dimension. Now they're looking to a higher power to figure out what happened. They don't just want to stop talking about you, they want to figure out themselves, pay attention to their own journey. You got someone focusing on their own path instead of yours. They're asking deep questions. Where did I go wrong? Why couldn't I take off? They had resources, tools, opportunities, but you surpassed them anyway. You went from looked down on to looked up to, from mockery to admiration, from punchline to inspiration. They feel this shift in their spirit. This long-time opponent who opposed you for years, who made their mission diminishing you, who built identity around being better than you, now forced to acknowledge truth. You won. You won by building, not arguing, by producing, not defending, by becoming, not explaining. And here's what you must understand moving forward. Your fruit is doing all talking, and you continue the cycle. Take whatever idea divine gives next. Plant that seed with faith. Watch it manifest with patience. Let it speak with confidence. Don't break silence to defend yourself. Don't interrupt progress to explain to people below your level. Don't slow momentum to convince anyone. Just keep building, keep producing, keep manifesting, keep letting fruit pile higher until it becomes a mountain no one can ignore or deny. Your opponent learned valuable lessons from your fruit. Can't talk your way to real success. Criticism builds nothing. Tearing others down doesn't lift you up. While they watched and mocked, you became someone they can't catch now. Gap too wide, distance too far, different frequency, different level, different dimension. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to rub it in, don't have to post about it, don't have to announce it, don't have to send subliminals. Fruit announces itself. Success is loud when you're quiet. Transformation visible when you're not pointing. Results speak universal language. Everyone understands. Evidence speaks for itself. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something. But talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. Won't be guilty as you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. You're not even in the same category anymore. They used to see you as competition, as someone on their level who they were slightly ahead of, someone they could compare themselves to and feel superior about. But now when they look at you, they don't even know what category to put you in. You're operating in a realm they don't have access to, playing a game they don't know the rules of, speaking a language they haven't learned, moving in rhythms they can't match. They thought success was linear, work hard, get results, but you showed them success is spiritual. Align with divine purpose, receive supernatural acceleration. They thought achievement was about effort, but you demonstrated achievement is about obedience. They thought breakthrough was about grinding, but you proved breakthrough is about surrendering. You didn't just outwork them, you out-aligned them. You didn't just out-hustle them, you out-believed them. You didn't just outperform them, you out-trusted them. And now they're standing there trying to figure out how to compete with someone who's not even competing, how to race someone who's not even running, how to fight someone who already won. The cosmic order shifted when you stepped into your true identity. When you stopped trying to prove yourself to people and started proving yourself to the divine. When you stopped measuring your progress by their standards and started measuring it by heaven's standards. When you stopped asking for their approval and started seeking divine approval. That shift changed everything. It moved you from the realm of human competition into the realm of divine assignment. And in that realm, you don't have opponents, you have assignments. You don't have haters, you have spectators. You don't have competition, you have purpose. Your longtime opponent is realizing they were never actually competing with you. They were competing with themselves, fighting shadows, battling projections. The entire time they were focused on you, you were focused on your calling. While they were obsessed with bringing you down, you were obsessed with building up. While they were investing energy in your destruction, you were investing energy in your construction. The math doesn't even make sense to them now. How did focusing on tearing you down leave them further behind? How did obsessing over your failure result in your success? How did all their negative energy toward you somehow fuel your positive transformation? Your opponent has private reckoning happening right now, sitting alone at night, replaying every doubt, every laugh at your dreams, every joke at your expense, every time they said you'd never make it, every prediction of your failure, now eating those words in silence, choking on their own negativity, drowning in reality. They were completely wrong. Everything they said wouldn't happen has happened. Everything they said you couldn't do, you did. Everything impossible, you made possible. But you're not focused on their reckoning. You're focused on your next seed, already thinking about next divine download, already planning next project, already envisioning next level. You made longtime opponent feel unworthy because you became worthy of everything they said you'd never have, became the person they swore you'd never be, achieved what they promised was impossible, manifested what they declared would never come to pass, did it quietly, humbly, without fanfare or announcement, without defending or arguing, just put your head down and did the work daily, planted seeds in secret, were protected, watered with tears and prayers and faith, protected from negativity and doubt and fear, nurtured with consistent action. When season was finally right, when timing divinely perfect, fruit appeared, undeniable, irrefutable, abundant beyond measure. Their own friends are starting to question them about you. People who used to join them in mocking you are now asking questions. Wait, didn't you say that person would never amount to anything? Didn't you predict they would fail? Didn't you laugh when they said they were going to do that? But look at them now. Look at what they built. Look at what they became. How did you get it so wrong? They can't even talk about you in the same circles anymore. The people who used to encourage their hatred are now silent. The friends who used to join in the mockery are now watching your success with their own eyes. The family members who used to co-sign their criticism are now wondering if maybe they should reach out to you for advice. Your fruit didn't just change your opponent's mind about you. It changed everyone's mind about you. It shifted the entire social dynamic, flipped the script on who's worth listening to and who's just bitter. And your opponent has to sit with this reality, has to face the fact that they invested years of energy into someone's destruction and all they did was witness their construction, has to acknowledge that every word they spoke against you somehow worked in your favor, has to accept that the universe wasn't listening to their curses because you were covered by divine blessing. This is heavy. This is the kind of weight that keeps you up at night, the kind of burden that makes you question everything you thought you knew about how life works. Some of them are going through what you could call a dark night of the soul, that moment when everything you believed about yourself and your place in the world gets challenged, when your entire narrative about who you are and who they are gets dismantled, when reality refuses to cooperate with your version of events. Your fruit triggered this crisis in them, not because you intended to, but because truth has that effect. When truth shows up, lies can't stand. When light appears, darkness can't hide. When evidence manifests, opinions become irrelevant. Your opponent is in that space right now where they have to choose. Do they continue in denial, making up excuses for your success, attributing it to anything except your hard work and divine favor? Or do they accept reality, admit they were wrong, and use your example as motivation to finally do something with their own life? This is the crossroads. This is the moment of decision. And depending on what they choose, they'll either transform or continue to deteriorate. Either way, it's not your concern. Your concern is your next harvest. So as you continue this journey into new territories and higher dimensions, remember what got you here: the patience developed during waiting seasons, the persistence maintained through failing seasons, nights you wanted to quit but continued, moments you felt isolated but stayed focused, times you were mocked but kept building, seasons you felt invisible but kept working faithfully. All of it was preparation for this moment, all necessary to produce this fruit, all part of divine design to elevate you above opposition, not through conflict, but through creation, not through fighting, but through building. The reason your opponent feels unworthy now is beautifully simple. They realized you possess something they don't have and can't fake. Not talent, not luck, not privilege. You possess willingness to do whatever it takes, faith to believe when evidence scarce and circumstances impossible, discipline to work when motivation disappeared, resilience to stand after falling repeatedly, wisdom to build in silence while others build in noise, strength to ignore constant criticism, vision to see beyond current circumstances to future possibilities, courage to plant seeds you might not see bloom for extended time. Now there's no going back to old narrative, no pretending things are different, no denying obvious truth. Truth is out for everyone to see, and truth is this: you were built for this exact moment and purpose. They were built for something different. You were called to produce fruit that feeds and inspires. They were called to learn from your fruit and let it transform them. You were assigned to manifest and create. They were assigned to witness your manifestation and let it awaken something in them. This is bigger than you versus them, bigger than your success versus their failure. This is about divine order being established, about spiritual assignments being fulfilled according to original plan, about the universe using your obedience and faith to create teaching moments for those still learning. Your fruit isn't just your personal testimony, it's their textbook for transformation. Your results aren't just your private victory, it's their case study for what's possible. Your success isn't just your individual blessing, it's their wake-up call to stop sleeping on their own potential. So walk in fullness of this season with head held high, knowing you didn't make your opponent feel unworthy to harm or hurt or get revenge. You made them feel unworthy to help them see truth, help them wake up, help them transform. You showed them what becomes possible when you stop talking and start doing, demonstrated what happens, aligning with divine purpose instead of human pride, proved beyond doubt that silence plus action will always defeat noise plus inaction. You became the living, breathing embodiment of what it looks like when divine backs someone genuinely willing to do the required work. And now, as you stand with basket overflowing with fruit of every variety, as you watch your opponent turn and walk away humbled and redirected, as you feel the shift in very atmosphere around you, remember this moment with gratitude. Remember how you got here through faith and work. Remember what it cost in tears and sacrifice. Remember what you learned through failure and persistence. Remember who you became through transformation process. Because this moment is only the beginning. The fruit you're holding today is just first harvest of many. You will continue transforming in ways that amaze even you. Continue manifesting realities that seem impossible. Continue making impossible look effortless and extraordinary look ordinary. This is your time, and no one can take it. This is your season, divinely appointed. This is your moment, prepared specifically for you. Walk in it with unshakable confidence. Walk in it with supernatural grace. Walk in it with quiet power that doesn't need announcing. Let your fruit speak truth about who you are. Let your results defend your character and calling. Let your transformation inspire everyone watching your journey. Your fruit isn't just affecting your opponent. It's not just inspiring the people watching your journey right now. Your fruit is creating a blueprint for generations that haven't been born yet. Your obedience in this season is writing instruction manuals for future chosen ones who will face similar opposition. Your faithfulness in the secret place is establishing patterns of victory that others will follow. Your silence in the face of criticism is teaching a whole generation that you don't have to defend yourself when the divine is defending you. This is generational impact. This is legacy-level fruit. This is the kind of harvest that doesn't just feed you. It feeds your children and your children's children and people you'll never meet who needed to know that someone like you existed, someone who was counted out but counted anyway, someone who was mocked but manifested anyway, someone who was dismissed but dominated anyway, someone who was overlooked but overcame anyway. Your silence in this season will echo louder than their noise ever did. Your fruit in this moment will speak longer than their criticism ever could. Keep planting seeds for the next harvest with faith and expectation, because chosen one, I'm telling you with absolute certainty, the best fruit, the most abundant fruit, the most spectacular fruit is still ahead of you waiting to manifest. Your greatest days are not behind you. They're in front of you, and your longtime opponent, who feels unworthy today, will feel even more unworthy tomorrow when they see what you produce next. The basket you're carrying now will overflow even more. The fruit you have today will multiply beyond measure. The evidence you possess now will stack so high, it becomes undeniable monument to what happens when divine purpose meets human obedience. So keep planting, keep building, keep manifesting, keep shining. Your fruit is speaking volumes, and the whole world is listening. And every time someone comes running toward you with negativity loaded and mockery prepared, they're going to see that basket, they're going to see that fruit, they're going to hear that voice from the spiritual realm saying, "Turn around, unless you want to embarrass yourself." And they're going to walk away humbled just like your longtime opponent did, because your fruit doesn't just defend you, it dominates. It doesn't just protect you, it establishes you. It doesn't just speak for you, it conquers for you. You're not the person who talks about what they're going to do. You're the person who does it, then lets the fruit speak. You're not the person who argues with critics. You're the person whose results silence all criticism. You're not the person who needs validation. You're the person whose fruit validates itself. And that chosen one is why your longtime opponent feels like an unworthy opponent, because they're still talking and you're still producing. They're still defending themselves and your fruit is defending you. They're still trying to prove their worth and your fruit is proving yours without you saying a word. That's power, that's dominance, that's victory, and that's your reality right now in this very moment.